It's kind of the heartbeat of our neighborhood.
At CBS News Colorado, your reporters are searching for the heart of the story.
He fought really hard to share the story, and once he did, we were able to find so many other victims.
Fighting to amplify your voice.
They reassessed you.
Yeah.
And what happened?
It went up over 2 times.
Hold the powerful accountable.
Somebody should have stopped it. Someone has the authority to stop it.
Celebrate heroes.
In that moment, I had about a split-second decision.
And help you be the change you want to see.
They're the most important part of our community. We need to protect them at all costs.
At CBS News Colorado, we are committed to covering Colorado first. And to us, that means getting to the stories that hit close to home, the ones that are happening in your communities. I'm Karen Leigh.
And I'm Michael Spencer. We want to get to the heart of the story, no matter where it's happening, whether it's in northern Colorado, along the Front Range, the Eastern Plains, or the mountains. That's why your reporters are focused on the community you live in.
Our team is spread out all across the map for you, so we can really get to know what matters the most to you, where you live in your neighborhood, and find answers for you.
One of the top concerns we hear about from you is how to keep your community safe. So when you bring us a tip about a security concern, we take that seriously. Your investigator, Brian Moss, began looking into a claim from a woman that a Denver doctor drugged and sexually assaulted her. She reached out to Brian because she was worried that it could happen to someone else. Following a CBS News Colorado investigation, 11 women came forward to accuse 36-year-old Stephen Matthews. A jury later convicted and sentenced Matthews to more than 150 years in prison. Now, the prosecutors who put him away are pulling back the curtain on their case, sharing how Matthews tried to destroy evidence.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Stephen Matthews, guilty of assault in the second degree.
Convicted in August. Sentenced for drugging and sexually assaulting women he met on dating apps.
I don't think it has much to do with sex at all.
The prosecutors who put Stephen Matthews behind bars.
I did. I got emotional.
Say the women who testified against Matthews were just the beginning.
How many more victims do you think there are?
Hundreds.
The prosecutors revealing now that about 30 more women have provided statements to Denver police detailing their experiences with the former cardiologist.
But you guys felt like you could have charged him in many other cases?
Yes. If we had gone forward on everyone who had come forward, we would have been in a position of being in trial for 6 months longer. It's no secret, obviously, that he is a very prolific serial rapist. But
what was secret until this interview? How Matthews tried to destroy evidence.
I think there's enough evidence to say that he was definitely getting rid of things on his phone. Did he do it well? No.
We also know that he was manipulating some of the data that was in his phone surrounding some of the women, text messages that we knew to be missing, like portions of the message or deleted.
You tore her life apart.
But for all the women Stephen Matthews hurt,
Stephen Matthews took away what normal looks like for me.
For all the women whose lives he darkened, jail records show other women, between 5 to 10 of them, according to these prosecutors, emerged during the case and offered Matthews comfort and reassurance.
And they came out of the woodwork to support him, and then they developed a more active relationship.
But he definitely had multiple women that he was talking to throughout the pendency of the case, and they changed as the case went on.
You've taken away her trust.
The prosecutors have been more focused on the women who stood up in court, who shared their stories of what happened on dates with Stephen Matthews. And they hope this case sends a message to other victims of sexual assault that if they come forward, they will be supported and they will be safe. I'm Brian Moss, covering Colorado First.
This case was brought to light after Brian's investigation first aired last year. Brian has been reporting on this story for more than a year and a half. The very first victim to come forward shared her story with Brian months before Matthews was arrested. We spoke to her again outside the courtroom right after Matthews was convicted.
Thank you to Brian. He talked to me before any of this had really blown up, and he believed me right away. So I'm really grateful for him and for his support. And he fought really hard to share the story, and once he did, we were able to find so many other victims because I just knew in my heart that they were there. It was very clear this was calculated and something that he had done before, even before I became aware of other victims. Like, I just had that feeling, and he did too. So I appreciate him endlessly for that.
After Brian's reporting, Colorado lawmakers passed a bill requiring dating apps to have a safety policy in place by next year. The policies must specify that engaging in sexual conduct without consent violates that policy. They must also inform users of how to report misconduct, detail how the service will respond, and specify whether or not the service runs background checks on users.
We are committed to covering Colorado first with the stories that matter to you. Well, this fall, we were there as a sea of red moved through one Littleton neighborhood. Along the route, a 13-year-old boy took to school every day. 7th grader Liam Stewart was hit and killed by a driver while riding his bike to school. Well, this October, 1 year after that tragic crash, Liam's family and friends and classmates, his teachers, even people he had never met, marched for change to keep kids safe. They did it all while wearing red, Liam's favorite color. In the past year, we've reported on numerous incidents where children were hit by drivers as they walked or rode to school. Well, this is something that happens all over the state. And a lot of these tragedies come down to drivers simply going too fast and not paying attention. Ashley Portillo is your reporter in Arapahoe County, and she covered the immediate aftermath of the crash that killed Liam, but she kept talking to people in that community and covering their continued effort to make streets safer for everyone.
Who are streets for? Bikers and walkers filled the parking lot at Euclid Middle School to celebrate the life of 13-year-old Liam Stewart.
The outpouring of love today just really reminds us how important Liam is to this entire community.
The accident happened just a few blocks from school. His father, Josh Stewart, shared the message that every child has the right to get to school safely.
The kids, it really is. They're the most important part of our community. We need to protect them at all costs.
A sea of red, Liam's favorite color, worn by his classmates and friends who also showed up.
It's just sad. Everybody's here for Liam, which shows how much we care about him.
It shouldn't have happened, but it's nice that people will recognize him and remember him.
A day to honor Liam, but also promote safer streets in Littleton.
Then there's also a large group of citizens who bike and walk and are struggling with the conditions of the streets here.
After Liam's accident, his father and the community have pushed for change.
We don't want car-focused streets. We want equitable streets, because streets are for everyone.
For Josh, that's meant having conversations with city leaders, including Mayor Kyle Schlechter.
We are taking time to plan and spend money on investing in our infrastructure for people that are walking places, people that are biking places.
And their efforts paid off. Safer Streets Littleton has helped add 20 new crosswalks at schools, stepped up traffic enforcement in school zones, and launched pilot projects for bikers and pedestrian safety.
This is just the start. It's going to be a continued effort for years to come.
Thursday morning, the group then walked and biked to Bemis Library, a route that Liam often rode.
Liam's smiling down right now, and he's happy that all of you are here joining us today.
His family then unveiled a bench in honor of Liam.
Time is an illusion that makes perfect sense.
With a quote from his favorite show, Adventure Time.
But you and I will always be back then.
That was your reporter in Arapahoe County, Ashley Portillo. The group tells Ashley that more progress, of course, is needed. They also want to ramp up education efforts within schools, teaching students how to better look out for themselves.
This fall, parents have been putting pressure on the Denver Public School District as the school board considers closing schools. DPS says that its enrollment is dropping and that it needs to consolidate in order to efficiently use its faculty, staff, and facilities and stay on budget. They are far from the only district dealing with this. Your reporters have covered how this is impacting communities in Douglas County, northern Colorado, and Aurora, just to name a few. Across the state, parents are pushing back, saying the changes are harmful to their children. Their issues include losing the relationships with their friends and teachers, larger class sizes impacting their learning, and that routes to their new schools can require them to cross busy roads. Jefferson County was the first of the districts to go through this battle. Ultimately, the fight to save schools like Vivian Elementary in Lakewood was unsuccessful, but the battle did not stop there. Neighbors had to fight to protect the land itself, saying that it's become a hub for the community. Your reporter in Jefferson County, Karen Morfitt, shows us how their struggle could help other communities more effectively navigate this transition in the future.
For neighbors, the former Vivian Elementary School is more than just an empty building.
It's kind of the heartbeat of our neighborhood.
Anthony Farr is among those pushing to keep the property as open space.
We want to see it, be a part of the community still and not just bulldozed.
Carol Ibanez helped organize the community. For months, they've been flooding the school district with concerns about development and asking that the city of Lakewood step in.
We provide a lot of opportunity for and information to both Jeffco and particularly Lakewood, that they realize that, hey, this is important.
As part of the district's disposition process, Lakewood was given the opportunity to purchase the property first.
Lakewood originally didn't signal interest because we hadn't heard from the community that there was interest in it. And then we were way past that process where we could have entered into it.
At a joint meeting with the city, school district officials say they will revise the process. And although developers are now bidding, they're doing what they can to meet community needs.
Even though the process has not been revised yet, we have inserted a requirement in the call for offers that the developer give us a response with the awareness that the city is interested in 3 acres.
Neighbors say 3 acres, while still not guaranteed, is a step in the right direction.
This really is the last piece of land, really, that could be something like this.
Your reporter in Jefferson County, Karen Morfitt, joins us now. Karen, were those neighbors successful in saving that open space?
Not entirely, but they got compromised, and they feel like that was a win. That because of their efforts, Lakewood worked with the school district and asked that it be included in the purchase agreement for that property that 3 acres be devoted to open space. And while they would have loved to have seen the entire property saved, which was just over 10 acres, they feel like, again, this was somewhat of a win.
Yeah, not bad. Karen, we also know that this process, closing schools, of course, consolidating them, very painful for all the families and the kids involved. Did they learn anything through this first process that they'll make some changes as they move forward?
You know, Vivian, yes, was the first in Jefferson County of more than a dozen schools that had to be closed down, and they certainly did learn a lot. One thing the school district and the city really recognized was that the timeline for this process was just too fast. They're going to change that now, and they're going to allow for the municipalities where those buildings are at to have more time to reach out to community members, see if they're interested in obtaining these buildings or these properties. And then they're also wanting to move forward in making it possible for the property to not be all or nothing. Before, you had to purchase the entire property. Lakewood would have had to purchase the entire 10 acres, but they couldn't afford that. They've changed that now, and they will be allowed to split up those properties. And if the city wants to use it for something, and then a developer wants another portion for homes or affordable housing, they'll be able to do that. So certainly some good changes. We're going to see it more and more in the coming years as more of those schools go up for repurposing.
Yeah, it is the community, so they need to get everybody involved, right? Yeah. Which sounds like that's what they're going to do.
And that's what really prompted this change. As much as we covered their efforts, it was their efforts that got that done. And so many other communities and families from those schools are going to be thankful that they have that time now to really weigh in on the process.
Yeah, Karen, thank you. We appreciate your reporting.
Karen is part of the Your Reporter team that is covering Colorado first. Your reporters are your neighbors. From northern Colorado to the mountains, foothills, and the metro area, your reporters are digging into the issues that are important to you. If you have a story idea you want your reporter to look into, just visit cbscolorado.com to send us an email.
Still to come, a Colorado man survives a flood, then a fire while living on the property of his dreams. How he is overcoming the latest threat to his dream, which is sudden and massive property tax hikes. Property taxes dominated Colorado's statewide political conversation this year.
If you own a home in Colorado, you were probably tuned into this issue. Property values exploded all over the state, and property taxes saw steep hikes. That prompted state lawmakers to pass new legislation in September, which they say will save the average homeowner hundreds on their taxes. It's designed to protect Colorado property owners from massive property tax fluctuations while ensuring funding for important local budget items such as education and emergency services. businesses.
Still, property owners all over the state have been in battles to contest their sky-high valuations. For property owner John Pelichu, this just the latest obstacle to living in his dream home. The devastating floods of 2013 poured a mudslide right through his house. He barely escaped death while being carried down Left-Hand Canyon by a wall of mud, rocks, water, debris. Then in 2017, fire destroyed his home. Now the only thing that's left is a foundation. Well, your reporter in Boulder, Alan Janae, visited that property, now dealing yet another blow, a stunningly high property tax bill.
There isn't much left here at the place John Pelichu called home, an empty foundation, the way it has remained for 7 years since a friend brought him home and he found it consumed by fire.
They came me up here and I looked at them, I couldn't take it.
Gone. There is a deep emotional attachment to this home of 30 years, which he has yet to rebuild. Now the property tax bill is another painful bite.
They reassessed you.
Yeah.
And what happened?
It went up over 2 times, went up.
He ended up with a property tax assessment similar to his neighbors after they challenged theirs.
Doesn't make sense because the tax bill valued my land at over 3 times my neighbor's land.
Same amount of land.
Same amount of land, same acreage.
Except while he has only a foundation, his neighbor has a large house. And so John, too, challenged his appraisal.
I filed an appeal and they denied it. I don't know why. They don't say why. They just say I denied.
In Boulder, property values rose sharply during the pandemic era, upon which the latest appraisals are based.
35% is our median increase.
Boulder County's property appraiser, Cynthia Braddock, admits a lot of people have been hit hard.
It is painful to send out an assessment that's large, that is that large, and that we know will impact people and their ability to pay their taxes.
But in John's case, what they didn't do was recognize an error.
Looks like you missed something here. And in an average year, we're able to pay attention to those appeals that come in and really dig into them and find out what's going on.
Out of 110,000 homes appraised, about 25,000 homeowners brought challenges.
Is it an oversimplification to say that the appeal was rubber stamp denied?
I think we reviewed everything, but just not at a deep level. So we weren't able to really dig in and pull up maps and go in the field and make phone calls because of the volume.
And so John will get a new bill.
Where do you think it's going to come in now?
I think it'll be close to half.
And he'll hold on, hoping again to rebuild someday in a place he loves.
I want to die here. This is my land.
I'm Alan Janae, covering Colorado First.
Now, the lesson for homeowners here, to keep appealing.
And there are multiple levels of appeal all the way to the state's highest court. And as you heard, it can really pay off. Pelichu's tax bill is expected to be cut by about half.
We are committed to covering Colorado First for you, and we know that sometimes even the small stuff can really have a big impact.
And that fact really jumped out to us this summer when we saw a bumper crop of grasshoppers emerge. The insects chewed up a lot of people's gardens and swarmed in open spaces and farms. This was a bad year for the bugs in much of our state, but there seemed to be an especially high number in the northern part of Colorado. Dylan Thomas is your reporter in northern Colorado, so he went to find out why these pests are jumping in population and learned it's all because of the weather earlier this year.
If you're anything like me, you can't even leave your front patio without being greeted by a grasshopper, like this one, which was not camera shy, just on my front patio. But for many, these grasshoppers are not welcome guests.
Walking through the plains of Greeley, thousands of grasshoppers are jumping right alongside you.
I've seen an increase, that's for sure. Definitely around the house, along the vegetation and the greens that are growing.
Edward Ortiz says the grasshoppers seem more abundant than years prior, and he's correct.
Colorado is seeing a very large number of grasshoppers. We've been getting reports from all over the state.
CSU entomologist Lisa Mason says a relatively warm and dry winter and spring left eggs buried in the dirt last year, plenty of opportunity to hatch and become the grasshoppers we see today.
Weather certainly plays a role. Warm, dry weather can mean more grasshoppers. Generally, it's not a good thing for people, especially for farmers and ranchers. The grasshoppers are heavily feeding on their crops. That certainly impacts their livelihood.
And some have even noticed in their gardens at home.
I think it's more of the heat, but I can tell like on my plants, my vegetation plants, there's a lot of little bites and a lot of little tiny ones running around.
They'll eat pretty much everything, so I would watch your plants closely.
Of course, you can buy netting or pesticides, but Mason advises you read labels thoroughly so that you know what you're spraying and what harms it may cause to your garden. She says the best time for farmers to control these pests, well, it's already passed. Spring is ideal when they are still small.
Once they become an adult, they're much more mobile and they're just harder to control.
In the meantime, for fishermen like Ortiz,
there's a part of you that wants to do what?
Catch one and throw it out on my line.
Now, the blister beetle does feed off of grasshoppers, meaning there might be more of them now, but like their namesake, they can cause blisters on humans. So if you do touch one of those bugs, it's important to make sure to wear gloves. In Weld County, Dylan Thomas covering Colorado First.
Coming up, Castle Rock residents are celebrating what may be the town's new favorite rock. And it's not the one that the city is named for. How a traffic hazard gained a devoted fan base. Residents in the town of Castle Rock have built a shrine to honor The Rock. And no, we're not talking about the town's namesake landmark or the wrestler turned movie star Dwayne Johnson.
We're talking about a rock in a grocery store parking lot that has gained a cult following. The Sprouts Rock, as it was affectionately dubbed by locals, started getting attention after car was actually scuttled on top of it. Can you imagine? Your reporter in Douglas County, Olivia Young, went to see the rock for herself and talked to folks about how the rock has become more than just an obstacle.
Move over Castle Rock, there's a new rock in town. Neighbors say at least 10 cars have gotten stuck on top of a rock outside of the Sprouts in Castle Rock. Now it's turned this rock into the stuff of legend.
Drive safe out there or you'll meet me soon.
The rock can't talk, so this man has decided to be its voice, creating a Facebook account after it rose to infamy in recent weeks.
So my profile has about 1,300 Facebook friends and grows every day.
He posts photos of the rock's many victims. Small cars that appear to have turned too sharply and ended up on top of it.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, there were some days where 2-3 cars would hit this thing and get stuck.
It became a regular occurrence of seeing these photographs of these cars on top of the rock.
The phenomenon captured the hearts and minds of Castle Rock.
Just continued to eat cars, and so its reputation has grown.
Neighbors created memes and groups on social media.
I thought it'd be humorous to post rock puns and haikus and all that kind of fun stuff.
But just as the rock reached icon status, it vanished.
Someone posted a picture that the rock had disappeared, and we were all saddened by it.
Only to be replaced by a new, larger rock.
Later that afternoon, this new friend showed up.
Fans created a memorial for the original Sprouts rock, which they eventually spotted elsewhere in the parking lot.
Flowers, teddy bears, mini cars getting stuck on the rock, more rocks on top of the rock.
Yeah, every time we're out here, we like to leave a little something on it.
In a time of division in America, the rock rising as a symbol of unity.
We were saying Sprouts Rock for president because it's uniting Castle Rock.
The hero Castle Rock didn't know they needed.
When something or someone can unite a community like this, it's pretty cool.
I'm Olivia Young, covering Colorado First.
I kept laughing throughout all of that.
I mean, it's wild how this thing took on a whole life of its own.
I know. And did you know that the Sprouts Rock is now listed on Google Maps as a tourist attraction? And it's got 5 out of 5 stars.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
There you go. Well, still to come, drinking water contaminated with radioactive sludge. CBS Colorado investigation finds the state failed to act on the poor water system for years. Well, how the state reacted after your investigator, Sean Boyd, exposed that problem. Plus,
at that moment, I had about a split-second decision. When I looked over to my side view mirror, I saw about 30 cars behind me, and I had to make that choice.
A CDOT snowplow driver becomes an unexpected hero when he stops a suspect on the run from police. In Northeast Colorado, a neighborhood is fighting for access to one of our most basic necessities, drinkable water.
Residents in Prairie View Ranch Water District south of the small town of Wiggins have been sounding the alarm about black sludge and their water for nearly 2 decades. Well, this spring, after our first report laying out how Coloradans were let down by one government agency after another, the state finally began taking enforcement action.
Your investigator Sean Boyd learned the state has since issued thousands of dollars in fines and ordered developers to pay for removal of the sludge, which tests show is radioactive.
This is what it's come to at Prairie View Ranch Water District. The tanks that hold drinking water for nearly 140 residents are full of sludge that is so toxic, hazmat crews have now been brought in to dig them up and clean them out.
I don't know how else to explain how this could have happened. There are checks and balances that are supposed to be in place.
But Jesse McCoppin, who bought a house here in 2020, says those checks and balances have been missing for nearly 20 years, putting the health of those who live here at risk. The EPA requires the State Water Quality Division to approve design plans for water systems before they're built. Developers built this system without approval, and when the state found out in 2007, it did nothing, waiting 10 years to issue a notice of violation. The district has received nearly 200 notices since 2017, but only after our story last month did the state finally issue an enforcement order. McCoppin says it's too late.
It's mostly been determined by engineers and other experts that we're facing a total system replacement. Fire hydrants, pipeline, the treatment plant, it all just needs to be ripped out of the ground and replaced.
Certified lab results show the black sludge that's been collecting on water filters in residents' homes is contaminated with radioactive lead, uranium, and radon. The Water Quality Division says it only became aware of the sludge in December of last year. But emails show residents complaining for years of indoor plumbing clogged with thick black sludge like motor oil, kitchen sinks and toilet tanks coated with thick black tar that will not come off, black chunks in sediment filters, rust clumps in water, and water that is crunchy with solid grains of manganese dioxide.
Somebody should have stopped it. Someone has the authority to stop it.
Instead, McCoppin says they allowed the system to expand and the sludge to worsen.
And it's gotten to the point where it's causing damage to the pumps, causing damage to the system, definitely causing private property damage to the homeowners, water heaters and whatnot.
He blames not only the State Water Quality Division, but Morgan County commissioners, saying they rubber-stamped the service plan for the water district despite all kinds of red flags. Not only was the special district set up as a private for-profit company when it's a tax-exempt government entity, but it was set up despite another water district right across the street. State law requires commissioners deny approval of a water district if there's already service available. But Morgan County Commissioner John Becker says it is not the board's responsibility to do that due diligence.
The county has the right to make sure things are being done properly, but they just simply turn a blind eye to everything.
Had commissioners asked for proof that the water met drinking water standards, as developers claimed, McCoppin says they would have learned tests by a state engineer already showed high levels of uranium, selenium, and radioactivity. But commissioners didn't ask, and McCoppin says because they allowed developers and out-of-state family members to run the district's board, residents wouldn't learn what was in their water for years, despite warning after warning from the health department to the district. The Water Quality Division ordered the developer to pay for hazmat crews to remove the sludge and clean the tanks and distribution lines. But McCoppin says without a central treatment facility, it's a temporary fix.
Within, a few days of this project being completed, the manganese levels and the sludge levels will be much lower, but they will inevitably get back to where they are now if nothing changes.
6 months after our story, residents still have water they can't drink and homes they can't sell. But they also finally have some hope. The Department of Health has assigned a liaison to assist with operations, inspections, and testing, and has urged them to apply for grant money from a fund that finances water infrastructure. McCoppin says engineers have said the entire system needs to be scrapped, and the only solution is to connect to a nearby water district at a cost of more than $20 million. Money residents don't have. When they took control of the district from developers, McCoppin says more than $1 million was missing, and he says the Attorney General's office won't even get back to him, let alone investigate. Sean Boyd covering Colorado First.
Sean, thank you. Imagine slogging up 10 flights of stairs in record heat just to get home.
That was the situation for people living in one Denver apartment building this summer that not only had broken elevators, but also had issues with its heating and cooling system. Earlier this year, residents from the Lincoln Apartments on Colfax reached out to your reporter in Denver, Jasmine Arenas, for help after months of getting the runaround.
Not at peace in your own home. It's very, very mentally exhausting.
Alex Pinson lives on the 10th floor at the Lincoln, a place that hasn't felt like home in the past few months and is even more concerning on days where temps reach over 100 degrees.
I have begged them for 7 months to fix my air conditions, and they've called me a liar, told me that they work. The maintenance guy will come in, unscrew it, take a little brush, and then leave.
Staying cool is necessary in general, but especially for Alex, who has a plethora of medical issues, including psoriasis, an immune system condition that worsens in the heat.
So going up and down the stairwell is very unhealthy for me and my dog.
CBS Colorado has been in contact with property management, including owners who say Urban American bought the property in 2021 with a massive amount of deferred maintenance and rapidly aging systems, and has spent millions of dollars improving these issues for residents. Still, residents say they're dealing with the same issues. Management tells us there's a total of 11 elevators across 3 buildings, and all seem to be working with the exception of one. But during our visit, only one seemed to be working. We took the elevator to the 8th floor, where the doors of an elevator seemed to be open. We got out, and after 12 minutes of waiting, we took 2 flights of stairs to the 10th floor, where we interviewed Alex.
I am so depressed. This is honestly emotionally, mentally drained me to the core.
In a statement to CBS Colorado, a spokesperson for the Lincoln said about the elevators, quote, "We continue to work closely with the mechanics until we get the situation resolved. Additionally, we replaced the air conditioning in the motor room to prevent overheating issues." I'm Jasmine Arenas, covering Colorado First.
We did check in with residents recently. They tell us the elevators were finally fixed a couple months after this story aired.
Good news there. Snowplow driver for CDOT recognized for stopping a dangerous situation that was putting dozens of drivers at risk. While that snowplow driver was working to clear Berthoud Pass during a March snowstorm, he came across a driver who was fleeing police.
His quick thinking could have saved dozens of lives and helped law enforcement catch that suspect. Your reporter in the mountain, Spencer Wilson, spoke with the driver who believes he was just doing what he always tries to do, keep other drivers safe.
When the car collided into the snowplow, they're actually not even sure if there's any damage to the plow itself. The only thing they could notice was that the glove compartment came open and one of the air vents popped out.
The plow in question, nicknamed Miss Piggy, was doing what it normally does on snow days, clearing the way to get Berthoud Pass back open to drivers. CDOT had just started letting drivers follow them back over the pass Thursday when the plow operator, Joe Duarte, got a weird call.
And I get a phone call saying that there's a high-speed pursuit coming over Grand County.
That news coming from the Grand County Sheriff's Office, saying someone in a silver Jeep drove right past their deputy and the obvious closure on the Grand County side near the base of Mary Jane's ski area. And simply put,
you can't do that.
And lo and behold, Joe ends up face to face with the driver as he's coming over the pass, while Joe is leading cars up the road.
And all of a sudden, he decides to come into the right lane, going westbound, so oncoming traffic. And in that moment, I had about a split-second decision, and I looked over to my side view mirror. I saw about 30 cars behind me, and I had to make that choice. I'd rather it be him hitting me versus him hitting the traveling public.
We want to make this clear. Joe didn't veer off to hit the driver. He actually just came to a full stop.
So I stayed my ground, I stopped, and he just continued traveling right into me, ricocheted off of my front plow, and got wedged into the snowbank.
After spinning his wheels, the suspect, Randy Calvin, got out of his car and started walking down the road to get away. But Empire Police caught up to him, and the sheriff's office says it's grateful for Joe's intervention.
So absolutely. So it is our plan to recognize this state snowplow operator for his efforts this day.
Everything else should be good. We'll hook those up.
But this plow driver believes it was simply the only course of action that day. Protect those on the road.
I'm very proud of my everyday activities here at CDOT. I'm a public servant. I want to do right by traveling public.
In Empire, Spencer Wilson covering Colorado First.
And he certainly did, didn't he? That's impressive.
Grateful
Spencer is your reporter and your neighbor in the mountains, and he's a part of your reporter team, committed to covering the news that matters the most to you all across the state. So if you have a story that you think your reporter should cover, we sure hope you'll reach out through our website, cbscolorado.com.
We are digging deeper after you reached out to us about a transitional housing facility opening right down the street from an elementary school. Still ahead, your reporter goes inside that new facility and shows us how this program is turning one man's life around.
We are the only station committed to covering Colorado First. Your reporter, Gabriela Vidal, highlights one man's desire to better his life after struggling with mental health.
We're getting a look inside a heavily debated transitional living facility. This is in North Glen on Grant Avenue near 112th Avenue. The new facility is close to an elementary school and a child care facility, which is why it had so much pushback to begin with. The community around that location didn't want recovering addicts or people with criminal history living nearby. Gabby started following this story when it was still just a proposal, hearing from residents and city officials who say they were not included in the process.
The state make this decision without consulting neighbors? The answer to that question is absolutely yes.
I felt uncomfortable and I felt like they shouldn't make it because I walk to class in the morning.
Gabby got a firsthand look inside that facility and heard from a resident about how this program is helping struggling Coloradans get back on their feet.
At first glance, it's like any other North Glen home.
It's been integral. It's been phenomenal.
But it's become a life-changing necessity for people like Eric Sabbath.
Before COVID, I had a career, I had a home, I was able to pay for a car, pay my mortgage. I worked as a musician and a music teacher.
Sabbath, who says he's struggled with mental illness in the midst of COVID-19, says he became homeless and wound up in jail quite a bit.
Eventually the jail said, hey man, this isn't the place for you, let's try a mental hospital. They concluded that I think they said high functioning schizophrenic with other diagnoses. And I really had no place to go.
Staff at the state mental hospital helped connect Sabbath with a facility like this in Highlands Ranch, where he's been staying for the last 3 months.
Having the opportunity to spend time in a community where that I am with other people who have this affliction has given me a sense of calm, a sense of understanding.
10 individuals currently live inside this mental health transitional living home, which comes equipped with a kitchen, dining area, shared and individual bedrooms, a place for residents to shower, and an outdoor space.
They're meant to provide that transition point, whether it's coming from a hospital setting to step down and have that exposure to the community. We do ask that you attend therapy, and that could look different for everyone. Medication management.
Clients who live here go through weeks of rigorous vetting, from looking into their background, speaking with the state hospital, or previous social workers.
We look at their interest in participating in the program, because this isn't really meant to be you just sit around and do nothing all day.
Since living in his transitional living home, Sabbath has finally been able to move forward in changing his life.
I have a job interview next week.
And urges communities to give these facilities and the people inside a chance.
That these are people who are just hard up on their luck and who need an opportunity to grow and develop in a safe place where they can become human again.
I'm Gabriela Vidal, covering Colorado First.
And your reporter in Adams County, Gabrielle Vidal, joins us now. So, Gabby, how did the folks that you talked with originally feel now that this operating facility is officially in their neighborhood?
Well, Michael, it's only been a couple months since the uproar about this facility took place. And in those 7 months when the facility was first introduced, residents were frustrated because they felt like the state didn't give them notice as to what was being created in their neighborhood. And because the language in the plans for this mental health transitional living home indicated that at first sex offenders could be among the population of people they admit to the facility, they were concerned, and the state assured that no sex offenders would be housed there later on. But even today, people with the Office of Civil and Forensic Mental Health say that there are mixed opinions from the community about this facility operating here, so it could still take a little bit of time to get people feeling more comfortable about this being in their neighborhood.
Yeah, that's understandable for both sides. City leaders pretty upset by how this was handled, you learned. Do you think that we will see any changes to how the state actually implements more of these mental health transitional living homes? Because I know it's something they're certainly taking a look at.
Well, it's unclear how much more oversight or as far as discussions with the community they'll be have moving forward here in Northland. But one thing the division director for these mental health transitional living homes tells us is that they do want people with questions or concerns to voice those directly to them and get any clarity on what's happening inside these facilities. So that appears to be one way they're working to ensure that kind of transparency about the process.
Gabby, thank you so much for your reporting. We appreciate it.
Still to come, a decision about a controversial plan to drill for oil in Boulder and Weld County has been pushed back indefinitely. That's after neighbors rallied against the proposed project.
Yeah, it would have put wells under schools and homes in their neighborhood in Erie. Your reporter in Boulder County, Sarah Herbakowitz, reported on their concerns in November.
Yeah, we've already looked at potentially listing our home.
Skylar Wetzel lives in Erie. Soon he could live above what could be the longest horizontal oil and gas drill in Colorado.
Regardless of the technology they have, you're begging for an accident.
It would start at the Draco pad a few miles away, and what you can see could be a small portion of what's to come. The wells underground could go up to 5 miles long, under nearby homes and schools, and with the added risk of being close to dozens of existing wells in Erie, a few of those wells right under someone's yard.
If you've got active oil and gas exploration underneath your home, 1.5 miles underneath your home, it'd be tough as an insurance company to not be more concerned about the risk.
But Civitas and Weld County back the project. Civitas saying they're committed to protecting the area's health and safety, and this plan could even help remove 22 older wells.
Civitas safety is valued above all else, and an unwavering commitment to safety and the well-being of Civitas's employees and communities are at the core of every decision and action.
Stakeholders now working to address some of the concerns from neighbors and local governments, like testing existing wells, performing traffic studies, limiting the project's timeline, and continued air quality testing.
Operating with integrity and listening to community voices, finding solutions, and working closely with stakeholders helps Civitas plan business in a manner that ensures its neighboring communities thrive.
But for some, it's not enough.
If this project is approved, I don't see us staying in our current neighborhood that we've raised our kids in.
Sarah Herbakowitz reporting there for you. After hours of debate at a meeting in November, the state's Energy and Carbon Management Commission pushed off the vote.
And they decided to wait to vote on the project until Civitas can look into another location for that project further from homes and businesses.
It is snow shoveling season, but not everyone is able to clear their driveway themselves. Coming up, how neighbors in Aurora are organizing to help out each other. Your reporter lending a helping hand as well and putting her back into it too.
In November, we saw the first epic snowstorm of the season.
And your reporters were out tracking those impacts all over the state for you. The Eastern Plains saw the largest snow totals on average. Communities out there saw 3 feet over a 4-day period. It was Denver's 11th largest snowstorm on record. Denver International Airport and the southeast metro area, including Highlands Ranch and parts of Aurora, saw around 20 inches of snow over 96 hours. That almost triples the November average of 7.3 inches. It's likely, though, we will have more major snowstorms to come. We know that, right? Well, back in March, your reporter in Aurora, Tori Mason, met some real-life snow angels with neighbors, helping neighbors during a major spring snowstorm.
I love shoveling snow.
A storm like this is Gerald's Super Bowl. Down the block, you can't tell the sidewalk from the street.
I look forward to it every year.
But this year, clearing snow has been a challenge.
I'm still getting used to this thing.
It's the first winter he can't shovel himself.
I do tend to think about it and say, do I really need this help? Is this something that I can figure out how to do on my own?
In this neighborhood, it's not uncommon to need a hand. Angelo DeMaio's been shoveling for hours. And he doesn't even live here.
I actually had the day off, so luckily.
He's an Aurora snowbuster. They volunteer to scoop for homeowners who can't.
Yeah, just right into there.
Oh my God.
I see why neighbors call him a blessing. He even shovels where he's not assigned.
They would offer me some money or something, and I said, I'm already here as a volunteer. When I come over and do these other houses, I'll just do yours as well.
Dozens of homeowners still need assistance, and the city needs anyone willing to help.
The whole thing about lift with your knees and not with your back still applies.
This is my first day.
Really?
Shovel all you can, because there will come a winter
It's not that bad.
where you wish you still could.
I'm looking forward to being able to do this stuff again myself.
Makes you want to grab a shovel, doesn't it? Might get out there and do a little work.
A great reminder of how grateful you can be that you still can shovel snow.
I know.
Love that Tori was out there lending a hand. Just remember, Karen, you got to lift with your legs, not your back, especially with that heavy stuff. Tori is your reporter in Aurora, and she's a part of a whole team of reporters embedded in your community.
And they are not the only ones. All of us here at CBS Colorado are your neighbors, and we love the chance to get out there in our communities and have a little fun.
It's time to light the lights in 3, 2, 1. Ah! Yay!
Kelly bet me money to belly flop, and instead I'm in the lazy river. Life couldn't be any better.
That's fitting for you, Joe.
Oh, come on, Kelly.
You're 6'7".
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'm going to come over here real quick because I think this might be a better interview like this.
I know, JJ, it's smoking me here. Can I get a hand?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, wow. You get moving down at the end of that.
All right, one-handed. Look out, everybody. Oh!
How about that?
So much fun, right? Thank you so much for joining us on this holiday season.
And thank you for trusting us to share your stories.